the Overman Warrior Podcast.
Hi, Chris Hoffman here. So I haven't talked a lot about the Jeffrey Epstein files, not because I'm not interested. There's a lot of information that's being unpacked with those files. I mean, a whole lot. There's a lot going on with the Jeffrey Epstein deal, and I think we're going to find several layers of dark. I'm not all that surprised by it. I've never been surprised by the power structure of the sex trafficking and the abuse of sexual relationships, the manipulation of others. When we see it in our own communities, I mean, you can just imagine what somebody who became a billionaire to peddle extortion, which is what we think is the case here. You can imagine, how bad it's going to get as we have this, again, the age of disclosure. A lot of these stories these days are about disclosure. And we're going to learn a lot about the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world. He's not the only one. He's the one that the whole thing fell apart and he got caught. And so what we're talking about here, what I think is interesting as all that story unravels, is do we think they're alive? A lot of reports that Jeffrey Epstein is alive out there. And I tend to think, I thought from the very minute that it happened, with the cameras going off and everything happening the way it did, those aren't coincidences. And yeah, they showed us a body, and so we're supposed to think he died and hung himself. When you have the kind of money that Jeffrey Epstein had, you can buy your freedom. He wasn't ever going to go to jail. He was there's enough people in the deep state as it exists. He had done enough favors for enough powerful people that you can easily swap out a body for a body and smuggle him out of there. And he's probably living somewhere hidden away. You can live on an island somewhere, another island, in some remote place, and no one's ever going to know. No one will ever find you. I mean, yeah, I think that we never saw his body. We never saw the body of Osama bin Laden. They dumped him in the sea in the middle of the night. No one ever saw that. The people who were there said they saw him dumped, but whatever. They saw him shot. But there's a long history of these kinds of characters that just disappear, and you never hear from them again. And so, yeah, I think Adolf Hitler was hidden in South America after World War II. I think that's definitely a thing. I think Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of money, a lot of power, and people hid him. And they replaced his body with someone that looked like him that they laid on the gurney and carried it out. And people, the blanket came off his face enough for cameras to get a paparazzi picture that ended up on the front page of all the tabloids. And people were like, okay, that's him. All right, he's dead. But he's, they smuggle him out and put him on some island somewhere, and he's going to stay there. His girlfriend, Maxwell, I feel sorry for her in that she doesn't get that. You watch the video of her having to stay in that little cell day after day after day after day, keeping these secrets because she's not talking. She's not talking for a reason. I feel sorry for anybody that's stuck in a cell like that, where you have a little toilet, a little divider wall, and a bunk where your head's right like a few feet from the toilet. I've been in prisons before, and that prison life would not be for me. I can't stand the sight of a toilet near where I lay my head at night. There's absolutely zero chance of that. So that's a rough life all day long, day in, day out. Death would be better. But I think when you're Jeffrey Epstein, you can buy your way out of it. So then that leads to the other question. Do we think that Joe Biden did actually die in 2019 and that he was replaced with a body double? There's a lot of good arguments made that person that was president was not the Joe Biden who was Senator Biden, who was vice president. And I don't know. I want to say, I'm sure his wife would know. I don't know that his son would know. I don't know that Hunter Biden would know. I think the whole reason for putting a druggie like that out there is because he sucked up the story, took the highlights, caused compassion for his father while they swapped the body out. But they wanted a vehicle to win the election and steal the election, which they clearly did. And yeah, I can see lots of scenarios where they put a body double in and a guy that was off his rocker played Joe Biden for a few years. And the Joe Biden we saw, the earlobes were weird, the face is weird, the eyes are weird. There's people who look alike out there, and you can have plastic surgery to make someone look like something. But what they did is they put a brain dead caricature in the White House to play Joe Biden, an actor. It was an actor, I think. I think there's a lot of truth to the fact that the guy that died in 2019 and the guy they ran for president, they thought we're going to get away with this because of COVID. And for all we know, it's part of the COVID plot. We know that Bill Gates had advanced conversations with Epstein about pandemics, why he was sleeping with all those girls that was going on, and his wife was upset about it. He was getting STDs, and they were planning the COVID pandemic, apparently, on the Lolita Express. So that's been coming out, and Gates is running around free. And he's not going to go to jail because he can buy his way out of it. You have that much money, you really are above the law. You can buy your way out of just about anything. And I think Epstein bought his way out of jail, and he bought a program where they hid him away out of United States jurisdiction to hide out on an island for the rest of his life, or at least until all this stuff boils over and you have a change of regime and he resurrects and reemerges. But Hitler never reemerged into German society. He just stayed in South America. And yeah, I believe very much that Hitler was in South America. I believe this is not something that's gone on just with Jeffrey Epstein. This has been going on for a long time. And these guys are so audacious about it because they think we're such suckers that I think there's a lot of credible arguments that the person that was president of the United States for Biden's 4 years was not Joe Biden, but an actor, and that the real guy probably died. And they thought he was the best shot for the Democrats to win the House or the White House. So COVID was unleashed. You had social distancing, which was unusually unprecedented. And Biden didn't have to go around and actually do the kind of public events that you would do during a normal campaign. And they knew he wasn't going to be able to handle the rigors of another campaign, so they traded out Kamala. So as long as the deep staters could control the narrative, and you could put Biden out as a puppet, and they could just work all the strings back there, they thought they were going to make it a weekend at Bernie's kind of scenario. But that Joe Biden was not the same Joe Biden that wanted to take Trump out back in 2016 and have a fist fight behind the shed. That wasn't the same guy. Either he had a serious stroke or problem, or they swapped out his body and just flipped the records. And then everybody just went into concealment mode. And they've done it before. They've been caught doing it before. So why would anybody think otherwise? So what do I think about Jeffrey Epstein? I think he's probably alive. I think he had enough money to buy off enough people, and enough people took the money. Enough people had enough dirt on them to play along, to get along. And you get a full bank account to keep your mouth shut, turn on some cameras, switch out the bodies, and off you go. And there's a lot of ways you can take people who witnessed the event and keep them quiet over time. But, yeah, can you swap out a body with somebody that looked like him? Absolutely. And did they try to swap out Joe Biden? I don't think a lot of people ever bought it. He didn't seem right ever during 2020 on. A lot of people pointed out, me included, Trump included, that is not the same guy. That's not the same walk. It's more than an elderly person that used to be vice president and then became president. Because the guy did not age that much from 2020 to 2024, as much as we're led to believe he aged from 2019 to 2020, while he was campaigning from his basement. So unless you have a free and open society and you don't have all these authority figures manipulate things in the background, and they haven't been caught before, which they have been, and these scandalous controversies come out in all kinds of ways, the word gets out, and conspiracy theorists connect the dots, but you can't. The performance gives it away. And in Jeffrey Epstein's case, there's way too much concealment going on. And now that we know what has come out, Trump didn't really want to release him, but he did. I don't think he really wanted Bill Clinton to get into the kind of scrutiny he was going to get into because of it. But there's a lot more to it even than that. And Jeffrey Epstein, the word is that he's alive out there somewhere. And just like with Hitler, I believe there will be photographs and people will see him out somewhere. They'll blame it on AI. There's another benefit of AI is AI gives a nice cover story for these kinds of stories to conceal them, because you can always say, well, that's just an AI photograph. That's not really him out in some island off the coast of South America. That's an AI program, so you can conceal a lot of things that way, and you can conceal a lot of truth, and you can sell the Joe Biden story, and they certainly tried to, but it was so bad and devastating that they really couldn't conceal it. People figured it out, and now that hindsight's behind us, a lot of people are realizing that the story they were sold was a complete lie from the outset. So it leaves every conspiracy open for analysis, and that's what we're seeing now. My personal belief is, I think there's probably a lot of merit to the story that Joe Biden probably died in 2019. They traded out his body, just like they traded Kamala Harris when they knew he couldn't do a real campaign against Trump because he wasn't going to be able to do public appearances. So they had to conceal the fact. So they had to cut the strings, turn him loose, and set him adrift. And they used the Hunter Biden story to try and divert attention away from Joe Biden by these extraordinary things we saw on the Hunter Biden laptop. That was a story used to get everybody's attention while nobody looked too deeply at Joe because they feel sorry for him. The manipulations are obvious. And then when it comes to Epstein, I want to see how it all pans out. I'm not surprised by how bad and ruthless and deadly all this stuff is. But I do think he probably is alive out there somewhere. I said it from the very moment of suicide. Kash Patel says no. But I don't know when you swap out a body whether or not you can really know. I don't know that DNA records can't be, if you have insiders who are willing to do it at the CIA level, and what they report back to the boss is probably something that you can sucker them by putting whatever you want on that paper. I think if you have that much money and you can change lives the way that they can, the way Epstein can, you can buy your freedom, and he probably did. And we'll find out all this eventually anyway. But that's my thoughts on some of these characters that disappear. We're told they're dead, or that they aren't dead and still alive. But the body switching is a very real strategy. It's been happening for a long time, and as long as people are suckers to it, they're going to continue to try it. But I think all their shoes are getting untied as they speak, and it's getting a lot harder. That's a good thing. Anyways, Rich Hoffman here. Share, subscribe, make tomorrow a better day. If you ever read my book, The Gunfighter's Guide to Business, I think you'll love it. Anyway, have a good day. See you later.
Thank you for listening.